course, even shrinking the little jobs that may have been available. This is a scenario I mentioned, maybe not. The levels of corruption are unprecedented. We've never seen these levels of corruption in our country. Never. 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 Where things that public procurement for goods and services clearly has become a source of wealth for a few individuals that are in government. And this creates further stress on our population. We need to bring all of this under control. There's no question about it. Everybody is hurting at the moment. Now, Zambia is at a crossroads. We as a country have an opportunity to redress this situation. A rare opportunity, I must say, to redress this situation. This situation can only be redressed by bringing in a competent leadership, visionary leadership, leadership that has ability to put in place some planning, followed by programs, projects, but also the capability to implement these programs and projects, which will lead to rebuilding the economy, and of course, to support the social side of our country, of our people. This is a rare opportunity this country has tomorrow for citizens to take a decision that will take them out of this situation, which I've briefly described here. There's many more I could have said, but this is the scenario. Colleagues, now, in a country that's supposed to be a democracy, you cannot effect change of leadership without going through an election process. And that's what we're faced with in a couple of hours from now. Tomorrow, the 12th of August, 2021, our country is going to elections at different levels, which should result in a change of government, in our view, undoubtedly. But for this opportunity to be actualized, for the people to prepare themselves by placing a leadership that is capable, visionary, as I said, and that leadership that will serve them rather than take away from them, as what we see today. A leadership that will reunite this country, which has been divided by political greed. We have to have peaceful elections. Peaceful elections tomorrow are extremely essential to our country. Essential to giving us a chance once more, like we had in 1991, when we moved away from a one-party state to a multi-party democracy. We had a great opportunity, which we have squandered, unfortunately, especially in the last 10 years of those in office today. So, we need tomorrow's elections to be peaceful, to give us a chance yet again. But for elections to be peaceful, there are obligations, there are duties, there are things that need to be done by all of us. But we need to single out a few specific institutions that have a greater duty, a greater obligation to ensure that we have peaceful elections tomorrow, to help salvage this country from where it is today. I shall start with the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission of Zambia has a noble duty to ensure free and fair elections tomorrow. Free and fair elections are a critical ingredient to a peaceful election. That's the point I'm making. We need peaceful elections. We need stability so we can grow the economy, so we can support the social side, we can create jobs, business opportunities, and indeed a better life for our people. But the critical institution here, amongst others, is the Electoral Commission. There have been challenges around the Electoral Commission, but tomorrow, as the stage of elections, because free and fair elections is not an event, it's a process. So we've had a process of national registration of voters, NRCs, we've had issues around there, issues of the voter database. We've talked about all of those in the past. So that phase of a free and fair election is behind us. Today, campaigns close. Campaigns have been riddled with a lot of restrictions, where airspace has been denied to some of us. When we wish to travel to a particular area, we've been restricted. I think the local media know what we're talking about. I guess the international media have been picking stories. We went through a few detentions at airports, a few detentions before entering certain towns, as though we needed passports to enter towns within our country. But only us needed passports, official passports. But that's behind us now, with all of those challenges. Now we need the Electoral Commission to be able to conduct elections as a part of free and fair elections process properly, to become true referees, which they've not been able to do by and large to the phases that have passed. As I said, voter registration and just managing the campaigns, which have been very difficult. I shall return to that subject a little bit as I address another stakeholder that is important to ensure free and fair elections. We expect voting tomorrow to be superintended by the Electoral Commission in a manner that will be open, a process that will be open from the time polling stations open, 6 o'clock, 6 in the morning, to the time the elections close. Across the country, we do not expect the Electoral Commission of Zambia to exercise certain actions for a voter to access a ballot tomorrow in one part of the country and not in another. For example, we hear that the Electoral Commission would like to use biometric recognition of voters only in certain areas and not in others. That's not acceptable. That constitutes discrimination amongst the voters. It should not happen, because we want a free and fair election to lead us to a peaceful election. That's the connection. We also hear that some men, our men in uniform, some of them will be allowed to vote away from the polling stations, and somehow their votes must end up in a particular polling station to be accounted for. How would that happen? We have no mail-in ballots in this country. Anyone who votes must go to a polling station and cast their vote there. We have seen communication internal which suggests that such groups of individual citizens will be allowed to vote somewhere. That cannot constitute a free and fair election, because the law does not support that. There's not a single law that supports that. Everybody has to go to a polling station tomorrow. Polling stations must open on time. Ballot papers must be there everywhere on time. Voters must vote freely tomorrow. We're looking for citizens to make a decision for themselves as to the next leadership. I guess what is critical for me to say here is that we do not wish to see tomorrow's elections as the ballot opens, the voting takes place, the polling stations close, the separation of votes starts, counting starts, indeed totaling recording of results on what we call G20. The situation in 2016 was chaotic, that in the polling stations is a document, an A4 document, just this size, that should record results, authentic results in a polling station, and duly signed by agents, polling agents, monitors. There was none in 2016 by and large, including here in Lusaka. Now the question is that how can a result be authentic if they are not recorded in accordance to the laws, electoral laws, in accordance to the procedures? How would those votes be added together? We do not want that situation that obtained in 2016 elections. I think that's the duty, bare minimum duty, of the Electoral Commission of Zambia. That's an expectation from the people of Zambia and the global community. We believe that even if I have not referred to a particular phase of the election process tomorrow, leading to announcement of results, we expect credibility, openness throughout the process. There must be no hidden activity at all, because these activities are for the people of Zambia. So an election is supposed to be an open book agenda. Indeed, ultimately, we want this election tomorrow to be decided by the Zambian people. I shall repeat that. Ultimately, we want this election tomorrow to be decided by the Zambian people, the voters who vote in accordance with the law, the Electoral Process Act 2016, plus the regulations. Not those who count votes. Not the Electoral Commission, not other agents of government that support the election process. Those who move ballot papers, ballot boxes, those who transmit the results. So in essence, we expect the results management system throughout the processes to remain open and transparent. And we hear things that, like, phones will not be allowed in the polling station. Phones must be in the polling stations, because we need to do parallel vote tabulation. The regulations suggest that once the results are concluded in a polling station and announced inside there, a copy of those results must be pasted outside the wall of a polling station. So why shouldn't political party agents, monitors, and indeed anyone else be able to take a picture of the results certificate called G20 and transmit it to whoever they want to, wherever? Because Zambia is a global, part of the global village. We do not expect to see those restrictions tomorrow. If we see those restrictions, then it means there is a plan to allow those who count and announce the results to determine the results of tomorrow's elections. It shouldn't be the case. Not anywhere near there. We saw it in 2016. We don't want a repeat of 2016, because that will assure us of a peaceful election. through a free and fair election. Peaceful election through a free and fair election. Anything short of that is not acceptable. Zambians are yearning for change. Everybody knows that. Every Zambian knows that. The decision of tomorrow's election is already made by the people of Zambia. So, let the Zambian people decide who leads them, to take them out of this collapsed economy and social fabric. Here's another institution I want to cite, very briefly, I won't be long. Men and women in uniform, the police who support the Electoral Commission. I select the word deliberately, who support the Electoral Commission to discharge their duty, to make sure there's peace in the country around polling stations. It must happen just like that. We know that for the first time in the history of our independent Zambia, we have men and women in uniform more than policemen. And I'm talking of the military side, because the police is on the civil side, in a way. But the Army, National Service are more on the military proper side. For the first time in our history, we have those brothers and sisters. We will have them in the communities tomorrow. That is new. That has never happened before. Even when we transited from a one-party state, a very difficult situation, to a multi-party state, we never had the military proper manning streets and possibly polling stations. What should we do in this environment? Two sides. One, those that have asked our family members in uniform to be in the streets tomorrow have a duty to ensure that the instruction to those colleagues is clear. And what is that instruction in our view? To ensure there's peaceful elections. Not to aid a particular political party. No. But to aid a free, fair electoral environment. Peaceful elections. That's what we expect from those who have sent them into roles that they've not done before in our country. The other side is that we call upon our men and women in uniform who are given this rare task to ensure that they will support their fellow brothers and sisters to go and vote in a happy environment, in a non-threatening environment, in an environment where no voter should feel intimidated to go and vote. Actually, voters should feel safer to go out and vote. I say so because we've had ruling party militias in this country that have been threatening citizens in the communities and elsewhere. So we want to believe that our brothers and sisters in uniform are going out with a clear mandate to support 18 million Zambians in making a decision as to who leads them going into the future. I think that's a duty they have. I've said before, no citizen should act outside the Constitution. No citizen should act outside the law in order to aid a particular political party, because that will constitute carrying out illegal instructions. All instructions can only be legal if they are within the law, within the Constitution, within other secondary laws. And I'm positive myself that our men and women in uniform understand what the country is going through. They understand the poverty that has been inflicted by those in office today. They are part of the community. They are hurting as well. And I do believe they will be encouraged to carry out legal instructions to support their fellow citizens in making a decision as to who leads the country after tomorrow. I have every confidence that our men in uniform, men and women in uniform, will do just that. Anything outside of that is illegal. It should not be followed. So, I think the third element here is to say to the people of Zambia, do not fear your own brothers and sisters in uniform. Turn out in large numbers and go and vote. I'll come to that point shortly. Because I'm talking about this issue now, I need to close the loop. That those colleagues out there are your sisters and brothers. They come from the homes you come from. Go out and vote tomorrow in big numbers. And you know what you want to vote for. I know. I've gone around. I arrived 03 this morning. 03 this morning. And I know the feel out there. Every Zambian knows the feel out there. Tied to this, I would like to mention just political leaders and other leaders, maybe the subject of leadership in assuring a peaceful election, in assuring a free and fair election. Leadership is required now than ever before. Those in public office exercise leadership that you were put in office to perform. Responsible leadership. Leadership that will protect this country, will allow peace and stability to prevail. So next week, we can get into the business of turning around the economy. Next week. Monday, ready for action. On Monday. So if you are in leadership, don't act in a manner that stands in the way of the people who want to reunite this divided country, to rebuild this country and get it going again, to normalize this country, to restore the rule of law. That is leadership. We who are not yet in government have our own role to play as leaders, to guide our members, to act correctly tomorrow. I know they've gone through a lot of trauma. But that's preparation to be stronger than what we've been before. So we act, certainly ourselves, as Upnd Alliance, to act in a way that will ensure that we have peaceful elections tomorrow. It's very important. But that doesn't mean we give space, or those in public office, officials with instruments of the police and the army and the intelligence should abuse those instruments to destroy a peaceful environment. No. Again, I return to the Constitution that provides for respect for human rights, which we have not seen in the last 7 years in this country. Respect for human rights, liberties and freedoms that have been taken away from our people in the last 7 years, mainly by the current leadership. There's no need to skate around. Amnesty International reports are there as reference points. Various diplomatic missions reports on human rights abuses are there. No need to spend time on that. That's in public domain. There have been abuses of human rights, liberties and freedoms in this country, including extrajudicial killings by state institutions. Tomorrow is not a time to continue with that behavior. If you are in public office, conduct yourself properly. Allow the country to move on. Indeed, the country will move on. But you too shall be taken care of, because the leadership coming in has a different philosophical orientation and culture, looking after everybody. Despite their political opinions being different from us, we will ensure that everybody's rights are respected by Monday. So, let's all exercise leadership. We need leadership, good leadership, now than ever before. I think that goes, Electoral Commission again, leadership. What we saw in 2016 announcing results that don't exist is not good leadership at all. Church leadership has been very good in this country. We hope to see that continuing, guiding our society. International community leadership, domestic, regional community, SADC, African Union, UN, Commonwealth, we call for your leadership tomorrow and the days after to ensure that we have a peaceful Zambia and a peaceful transition. It is coming. Transition is coming. The country is on a verge of making history. That we can, like we did in 1991, like we did in 2011, that in 2021 we can make history, that we can have a third transition, peaceful transition from one party to another. But that requires a lot of effort from all of us and responsibility, acting correctly. So we can address the food shortages we talked about. To make our people have food, decent meals. That's our core as Upnd and its alliance partners. To send our children back to school. That's our core. Jobs. Health services that are functioning and not with expired medicines. Doctors that we shall recruit in abundance. Nurses. Teachers, teaching service. A prudent economic management is awaiting. Debt management, because debt is choking our economic efforts. Currently, maybe none. But after Monday, we expect that there will be strong economic management requirements, focusing more on revenue generation and less on consumption expenditure. And that means reining in on corruption. So we can create opportunity for all our people. Better their lives is our core. Serving our people is our core. In an environment like that, with Zambians decided, rigging will not work tomorrow. It won't work. It won't work. To maintain stability, rigging will not and should not work tomorrow. Let me refer to a small issue. I consider it small but very important. Of late, we've seen our opponents going out on an attack route, abusive route, threatening to arrest HH and others, mainly HH, is usually the subject of arrest here, as though 15 times arrest is not enough. That will be arrested after elections. That we committed a crime. I'm not sure which crime. I'm not concerned about that. But this is not the environment to talk about arresting each other when you're going into an election tomorrow. It's an environment to talk about what we shall do to improve the lives of the people. For the colleague who keeps talking about arresting other people, that's not leadership. That's not what we go in public office to do. We flip the views ourselves that we would like to arrest poverty as opposed to arresting people, citizens who've committed no crime. We want to focus on creating, rebuilding the economy so we can look after the sick, the weak, the retired, get their benefits paid. So are the miners, where my colleague was speaking from, trying to excite miners that HH will not respect terminal benefits. Our message is very simple. We want to make sure that the miners' terminal benefits are not paid in small quantities. They are paid lump sum, all of them, at once, to allow the miners to start a new life. That's what we're threatening to arrest, so miners can get their money, so that mine suppliers and contractors can be paid their back payments, backlog, so that we can get reinvestment in the mining sector going. It still remains our largest economic sector. The situation there is deplorable because of frequent changes, flip-flopping in the fiscal regime, the mining policies, taxes. VAT Rule 18 is not the UPND and Alliance that came up with VAT Rule 18, where you collect money from mining houses and other businesses on understanding that when they submit their returns to the tax authority, you reimburse them what you had collected. To this day, this government owes mining houses close to $1 billion of non-refund under VAT Rule 18. That will be a thing of the past. We will not take money away from businesses. We will allow businesses to operate, to be capitalized properly, mines and others, so they can grow. They can grow. When they grow, they will employ more of our people. There is the beauty that we're looking for. There is the value that we're looking for. You don't go to the mines and start threatening colleagues. You go to the mines to assure the miners that they will have a job opportunity, but that cannot happen until you have a government that knows how to work investments, not consumption. KCM has been destroyed over time. We've never promised anybody, we've never promised vendetta any return of a mine. We've not offered a mine, as my colleague talked about on the Copperbelt, to anybody. I challenge him where he got that information. That's a falsehood. We don't do business like that. We understand business. We don't do it like that. So, we never promised vendetta, a restoration of KCM. Never. Never ever before. What we want in the mines is recapitalization. What we want in the mines, which will bring, is a stable fiscal environment. Policies that are predictable. Mining is a long-term business. It's an expensive business. You don't change laws every year and expect mines to expand. We're losing an opportunity now where the copper prices are better, but we've killed the sector because of political greed. How do you put political party cadres to be liquidators in a huge mine like that? What have they done? Pensioning themselves. Instead of paying suppliers, they're pensioning themselves, sharing with the political elite of today. What else have they done? They've destroyed the integrity of the assets there, which will make it very difficult to quickly rebuild that mine and get it going. And our policies are very clear. Clear, attractive policies in the sector and other sectors, attract investment, domestic, regional, international. FDI is part of this global village we're in. And let me be very critical here, very clear, categorically clear, that we would like to see after mandate, we would like to see Zambians involved in the mining sector. It's an asset God gave us. As shareholders, as investors, we shall facilitate that. As board members, as workers, priority for jobs in the mining sector and the other sectors, like in another country, will go to Zambian citizens. It's a fact. But we recognize that there are international skills that are required to assist grow businesses, create more jobs for Zambians. We understand that balance. That does not constitute promising a mine to anybody. So Zambians out there, after Monday, once you exercise your duty, noble duty tomorrow, you should expect to be shareholders in mines. Of course, we expect you to work hard, so mines can be viable. The policy framework, regulatory framework will be right, so the investments can work. Then we can create jobs. we can create business opportunities for suppliers of goods and services, contractors, and they will be paid on time. Not now, as things are. There's a difference we bring to the table. There's no comparison. So making noise on the copper belt and claiming things that don't exist is a confirmation that this leadership of the PF has failed to run this country. And Zambians, exercise your right to vote and bring in a leadership that will better your lives tomorrow. Nothing should stand in your way. You've registered that message over and over. When you talked in the past, a year ago, you were beaten by thugs, political party thugs. You were killed. You were pangered. For the foreign press, we were militarized political party cadres moving with pangas and guns and maiming people who complain, taking away people's properties. That will come to an end on Monday. Law and order, normalcy will return. That's what we're offering the people, son. Not falsehoods. I challenge my colleague, come to the table, let's have a chat. This is a time he and I should be talking to each other to stabilize this country. Let's talk, my colleague, for the greater good of the people of Zambia. So I clarify what was said on the copper belt that is non-existent. It's a failure of leadership that has led to the collapse of mines. When the copper prices are going up, we should have been ramping up production so that we increase the revenue, we can manage the debt side, we can also create headroom for investment. It's not happening. There's a mismatch. It's because of lack of leadership. But that's about to change. I want to close by saying to the people of Zambia, as you cast your vote tomorrow, remember the future of Zambia is in your hands. The future of your children that are living, obviously. The future of your grandchildren, including those that are not yet born, is in your hands tomorrow. Tomorrow. Remember that. We make an appeal to you, dear friend, out there, registered voter, in that family, that your vote for UPND and its alliance partners is a good vote. It's a vote for change, for better. Every step that you take towards that polling station tomorrow must be a step for change, for better. Nothing else, nothing short. You deserve better. You've suffered enough. This should be change that reflects in the things that you want for yourselves, for your families. The quality of your lives from tomorrow going forward will depend on what you do tomorrow. And we have confidence that you'll do the right thing because you have suffered enough. It's time to chase out hunger, poverty, corruption, unemployment, political violence, abuse of authority, and this emerging disease of dividing our people on ethnicity, on race. To us in the UPND, it does not matter where you were born from, who your parents are. As long as you're a Zambian, we shall take care of you. It doesn't matter whether you're white or Asian origin, you're a Zambian, you're an eco-Zambian. We shall take care of you. Because that's our duty, that's our obligation. That's why we seek public office. Not the divisions we see today. And the divisions driven by someone at the top. And the chorus is sung by the followers every day. The media in this country know what I'm talking about. Every day, the chorus of division is sung. That is not why we seek public office. Finally, Your vote is precious. Every one of you, your vote is precious and is key to making that change happen tomorrow and beyond tomorrow. Do not allow anyone to steal your vote. There are things you can do at your level. Do not allow anyone to steal your vote tomorrow. Protect it. If you allow your vote to be stolen, you have sold your children. You've consigned yourself to more hunger, more poverty, more unemployment. You know it. I know it. We know it. We too, as a group, Upnd and Alliance colleagues, are doing our bit to protect your vote. But it starts with you. We do our bit as well. That's why earlier I talked about the institutions that must also assist in ensuring that the decision tomorrow is made by voters, not by those who count or who facilitate votes. So this is a team effort, and I have confidence that it will happen tomorrow. I have every confidence. The ingredients are there, the support base is there, it's visible. It was fearful for a while. In the last 1 month, it's just exploded. It's everybody to see. It's there for everybody to see. Even those in office are aware of that. We come in office, we leave office when time comes. Now is the time for people to leave office and others to come in. It's time for change. It is time for change. May God bless you, the people. May God bless our motherland, Zambia. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this point, we will take questions, 3 at a time. Please be clear to tell us which media institution you're coming from. Let's keep our questions brief. It would be nice if we kept our questions within the context with which the President has addressed, but however not restricted. So we'll start with her, then her. I'm looking for a him.
I'm happy with more ladies, honestly.
Okay.
I'm happy with more ladies. Yeah.
So we can have another lady. The third one. Where? Okay, so we'll start with her. Then the lady in red, then you.
Mr. Hichilema, Narada Kamalke from AFP. You're obviously fairly confident in a victory tomorrow, but would you accept the defeat? There was a call by the PF yesterday for the opposition to be magnanimous in accepting their defeat. Under what circumstances would you accept it, and under what circumstances wouldn't you? Thank you.
My name is Nonsama Sebe, and I'm with BBC News. Mr. Hichilema, my question to you is, in light of the issues that you have raised regarding the electoral commission, for example, the biometric system and other issues, do you believe that tomorrow's election will reflect the will of the people? And perhaps another question about the personal cost to you. Is it worth it seeking another term in office after having lost 5 times? And also having been arrested 15 times? Why do you still want to do this?
Well, if there's none, we can address. I said, oh, sorry. My apologies. My sincere apologies. Yes.
Mr. Hichilema, this is Peter from AFP also. I just wanted to know, what drives you in this is your 6th time running for president and suffered quite a lot of hardships. Where does the motivation come from? And also, if you were to be defeated tomorrow, would this be your last time, or will you try again? Thank you.
So we can answer?
Yes, sir.
Director of Ceremonies. Thank you, 3 ladies, 2 from AFP, 1 from BBC.
Can I ask you just to look towards the middle, please, sir, regardless of who answers, just this way. Would you look towards us?
Oh, only you, eh? Okay. I'll try to do that. Right. Right. Okay. You sound confident. Yes, we are. Despite the restrictions, trying to look at her. Despite the restrictions in campaigns taking away our rights, I think I've touched on that. Most of you know what's been going on, physically and otherwise. We're confident because we're in touch with the people of Zambia. We believe, we know that they want change. They want change. They've decided for change. Because there's squalor out there. They've never seen this poverty I've talked about. They've never. I've never. I actually never thought myself that after 1991, we will have a regime like this, ever. Of course, I was wrong. So have many Zambians. This is a different regime that is brutal, that is undemocratic, that uses institutions to do all sorts of things. But I think the population have come to understand that this cannot continue. Anything short of that constitutes basically muzzling people out of their choices. And that should not happen. So confidence driven from the people's views and going round like I have done. And many of my leaders here, they are all returning from grueling campaigns and our members across the country. Accepting defeat is not the issue. The issue is having free, fair elections. Let's get it right. In fact, in your questions, the answer lies in there. Because we've run for this office for more times. The only one close to the number of times I've run for this office is the late President Michael Sat, who was in politics for 50 plus years. I've been in politics for 15 years. But I'm not a guy who takes excuses, who makes excuses. The 5 times is circumstantial. I've gone through a period where 2 sitting presidents have died. Never happened before, right? So I was having an election every 2.5 years, every 3 years, within that 15 years. The truth is that this should have been just my 3rd attempt. But we lost president. I'm not God. It's God's decision. But we accept what God decides in his own wisdom. But that's not an excuse. So I guess I've answered the question. Accepting defeat is not an issue of accepting or not accepting. It's an issue of having free, fair, credible elections. Those are the issues we've been talking about for years. And I think when the elections are free and fair, there are no qualms about any issue. The winner wins, the loser can continue, or the loser can stop. That's a constitutional right. Maybe that answers the other question there. Continuing or not continuing is constitutional right. A number 5 times is like someone says to me, HH, you've been married 30 years. Wow. How many times has your wife run away from the home? I said, she's the owner of the home. How can she run away from the home? You see? Because the perception, the culture is that if you've been married that long, you must be quarreling, you must be fighting. You know, families behave differently. We behave differently in this home. So we don't feel 30 years. We just think it's been 5 years. So 5 times, 6 times is neither here nor there. It's a non-issue. It's the core. Why do we seek public office? To serve, not to be served. Why do we seek public office? To unite, not to divide. Why do we seek public office? To create opportunities, not to take away opportunities from your people. We've seen the political players today competing with citizens on many things, taking away opportunities from citizens. And I think Africa must come of age in terms of leadership. We must not seek public office in order to enhance our personal business opportunities, to create income for ourselves from public resources. We seek public office to go and better the opportunities of our people. That's us. So 5 years, 10 years, Abraham Lincoln may provide an answer in there. Those of you who read history. And he turned out to be one of the best American presidents. I guess I'm right. Right? And he always asks similar questions. He says, I don't feel it. I don't understand. It depends on what you're looking for in public office. If you're looking for pennies, you're looking for to pinch from citizens on roads, a road that costs $300 million, you give a contract to Sakandola Road at $1.2 billion. Come on, where are you taking the money? That's people's money. If you seek office for that, you get worried about those numbers. What worries us is can Zambians lead a better life? That's what is important. Well, this is a deliberate, free, fair election. I think we've asked them to do that, not because of this press conference today. We've been asking them to do that. That's their barest minimum. That's why they were put there by the people of Zambia. I make sure I look at her camera. Right? So we expect them to do. I think it's not a question of do I want them to provide an environment of free and fair election. They are obligated by the Constitution, by the owners of the Constitution, the 18 million Zambians. It's an obligation, it's a duty. We seek public office, we know the obligations that we walk into. We know that $1, one kwacha that belongs to Zambians must be used for Zambians, not for individual politicians. We know that. So the Electoral Commission must know this is their duty. I think I've answered the issue five times. What drives us? I've answered that question as well. It is we wish to see a better life. Honestly, let me be personal a little bit, which I've been shy to do for many years. In my philosophical mindset is that it's mine only. First, you work for yourself. You work for your immediate family. For me, who comes from an extended family, you support your extended family. When you jump into the role I'm seeking now, the presidency, you should have taken care of your micro needs. Then you have time to take care of the needs of 18 million Zambians. What we have seen today in this country and in Africa is leaders seeking to take care of their micro needs, their personal needs, and that's what's motivating them to seek public office. That is not an issue for me. I think Africa must grow out of this thing. That's why poverty is ravaging our continent, even when we are the richest continent in terms of resource endowment. Because we've had leaders seeking different things in public office. We must seek to better the lives of the people. Look outside, look right. I'm trying to look at your camera. Look at the trees, look at the grass. Some countries don't have these trees. Some countries don't have water. Why should a Zambian go to bed without food in this country? It's only because there's no visionary leadership. That's why we seek public office. What drives you would be the last. I think I've answered those questions. Thank you.
There is one, but you haven't answered.
What's that one?
Regarding the personal cost.
Oh, I ignored it deliberately, to be honest. I'm sorry, madam. I'm sorry, madam. I ignored it deliberately because it drives me to something that doesn't really make sense as to why I seek public office. I think I touched on it that I seek public office not for personal advancement. We've been fortunate on that side. God has been kind to us. But it hurts to see citizens, as I said, go to bed without food in such a country. 35% of fresh water in Southern Africa is here in this country. We can grow food 24/7, 12 months a year in this country. We're not doing it. If you have time, before you go back, I hope you are not from this country, just take a drive a few kilometers to Kafue. Just look at Kafue River there. Just look around. You won't see a single center pivot around it. You won't. This is August. It's supposed to have center pivots all the way from Chiawa there, all the way up to Kitwe. This asset is yielding nothing. This asset alone, in my own quick valuation, part of my skill, is worth billions of dollars. Just this asset, Kafue River. But we yield nothing to better our lives. Nothing. So counting a penny here and there is not really why I do what I do. Is to see others get better. there's a selfish reason as well. I'm a cattleman. If you don't want to be the only one cattle rustlers go to steal cattle from, encourage your neighbors to also be cattlemen so that the thieves have choices before they come to you. Otherwise, they'll just be stealing from you. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm sure the thieves are happy to hear that. I'll have 1, 2, and 3.
Just foreign from the Associated Press.
Thank
the
you.
Electoral Commission has talked about announcing unverified results and warning you and others against doing so, saying they have the sole mandate to do that. What's your response? And secondly, you talked about people protecting their vote. What measures do you want them to take for them to protect that vote? And number 3, you talked about rigging not being acceptable, but you have alleged fraud in 2015, 2016 before.
Sorry?
Rigging.
Yeah.
You have alleged fraud before 2015, 2016. And if it happens again, what measures again will you take?
Mr. President. Good morning, my name is Pamela Mlenda from On TV. There has been a clarion call that the Electoral Commission of Zambia should provide fair and free election, not only you alone, but the Zambian people. I want to find out in an event where you win this election, are you going to keep the team of the Electoral Commission of Zambia under South Sudan? Then secondly, Mr. President, the decentralization policy has been dragged for a long time by successful governments. I've interacted so much with political parties on how quick, suppose they form government to implement it. You are on record that once you're sworn in as 7th Republican president, the party is going to appreciate. Is the decentralization policy also going to be implemented in that regard? I thank you.
Yeah, let me just guide, please, going forward. We have one person, one question. Let's not have, Uncle Frank would call them riders. Let's not have riders. So one person, one question, so that we can accommodate as many as possible. Yes, sir?
Good morning, Mr. President.
Morning, sir.
Thank you so much for coming back safely after seeing you going to the country. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Isaac Tisvita. I'm from the Nation TV, where we need just television. And my question is leaning on that, because most of your opponents, they have actually gone to the Pentecostal churches and they have told them that Mr. Hichilema is a Seventh-day Adventist devoted. And therefore, if we elect him, he's going to shift power from Sunday to Saturday. He will not have factions on Saturday because of his devotion. Can you just clarify on that? And can you assure him that he will not be Saturday?
Those are 3 questions. Sometimes what is said about me, my wife says, HH, is there another HH who wakes up in the night and transforms into another animal in the night? Because some of the things that are said about this HH, incredibly strange, right? But I guess it's a low level, it's a low quality of political competition. And one of our agendas, I'm starting with your question, answering your question, is to raise the quality of political conduct, to raise the quality of the presidency to a level where one will have to think twice before they vie for that office. And we believe that when we are through, we'll be proven right in this respect. So we can move away from the mediocrity, the pettiness, the divisiveness. You heard me talk about reuniting the country. Move away from this divisiveness. And you see, when you plot these divisions, ethnicity, religious, this is the point. Religious, color, race, white, black. You see, for a guy like me who's gone through, coming from the village, right? Went to school first 3 years without shoes, and eventually getting to invest on people's bursary, and going to Europe and to do other things there, and work and school. You begin to see things totally differently. That human beings are human beings. We're just the same. We're just the same. It's an upbringing that affects you. It is a training. It is certain values inherent in you. So, that allegation is one of those mediocre things that go on, anchored on divisions instead of us fostering unity. Am I okay, Bachvita? I'm Adventist, yes. And today I'm pleased that you're asking me this question, because a particular bishop, non-bishop, a man of God, in 2016, to try and win votes for his party, went into Kabwe, stood on a platform, and called me a Masonist. That they even knew the temple I worship at, right? And because I don't want to be lowered like them, I didn't even want to take him to court, because if I took him to court, I would win. But what value will I get? Let's assume I win and he pays me something. How much money will he pay me? Is it worth my time? No. So I just ignore such people. So today, the same people are saying, now because the church is Adventist. By the way, I'm an elder in the church. I'm also a master guide. Very important in our church, right? To be a master guide. It means certain discipline, certain behavior, certain good behavior, I mean. Not negative behavior. So, now that becomes a new problem. That I'm Adventist. Here is my answer. We believe that the body of Christ is one. Evangelicals, Catholics, Baptists, New Apostolic, Adventists, we are just one body of Christ. No need for segregation. We have enough things that separate us from each other. There's too much poverty that we need to fight. This is a non-issue. There's no power to shift from Sunday to Sabbath. Sunday worshippers must enjoy their rights to worship on Sunday under the Upnd government. So should be Sabbath worshippers like myself, like the Jews, right? They should too enjoy their religious rights. Hindus, Muslims, what divides the world, what causes us fight sometimes is so small things, divisive things. We should not fight Muslims. Muslims must not fight Christians. There's already enough bombs being dropped around those religious divides. Why should we create now bombs around SDA, Saturday, and Sabbath and Sunday? We have no time for that. After all, we are a Christian nation, isn't it? What does our Constitution say? We're a Christian nation that tolerates other faiths, other religions, isn't it? Since I am a believer in the rule of law, the Constitution will guide us. But luckily, because I'm a Christian, Christian morals and values will guide us even more and better within the Constitution. How about that? So no fear, no scaremongering. This is scaremongering. I have no Christians for HH. Somebody has Christians for themselves. No, Christians are for God and for Jesus Christ. 3 in 1. Mutakatifu. In Bemba, that's what we say. Right? Mutakatifu. I see how I'm testing these Zambians because they don't know language. The Mutakatifu in Bemba means Holy Spirit, the Son and the Father. You can't be Christians for HH. It's embarrassing. Nobody should laugh and clap when people say you are Christians for somebody. No. Those are small divisive issues that we don't need in this country. So I want to assure the Zambian population under the UPND leadership, starting from Monday, we will respect the constitutional provisions on religion, that Zambia is a Christian nation, all faiths are important, they will have freedom to worship their God, to worship Allah. If you are Hindu, you are Buddhist, you are a Jew, you are free to practice your religion in this country under the UPND. But this is a Christian nation, which means the majority of us Zambians are Christians. Now we Christians must not divide each other between Sabbath worshippers and Sunday worshippers. So, please, I want to assure the people of Zambia, that's what we call scaremongering. Do not be afraid. I'm your fellow citizen. I am known. My village, my religion, we are known. We respect you. You are okay. You will be fine. Thank you. Pamela, I'm doing last in, first out. It's an accounting terminology. Right? Pamela, I'm struggling to look at her. Will you retain ECZ officials? That's a non-issue. The ECZ officials, by and large, work the way they work because of the political problem. It's a political interference. So what we will do is actually gravitate from the way the ECZ is structured now to a truly independent electoral commission. A truly independent electoral commission, amongst the key factors that will change, is that the commissioners will reflect representatives of stakeholders. For example, when you have an electoral commission board, you will have commissioners that are chosen by the religious fraternity on the commission. You will have professional bodies represented on the commission. You probably have political parties organized in a particular way represented on the commission. And then they should choose their own chairperson. Please. They should choose their own chairman. And that the staff will be employed by the board, not by the political party in leadership like ourselves. That's a truly independent electoral commission, which will deliver free and fair elections without fighting, without arguments. It will become as normal. So these officials are Zambians. We are not seeking public office to remove Zambians from their offices. We are seeking public office to put Zambians in jobs, including those that are in jobs already. Let me address this to other civil servants. You are being scaremongered that you'll be removed from office. No. We are there to expand employment by expanding the economy, by cutting corruption, by reducing the debt. We create more resources, invest them in the revenue generating areas, we grow the economy, more jobs, more business opportunities, more contracts. That's who we are. That's the distinction with those who are in office. How can anyone want to continue in office? Let me be a bit naughty. How can any leader want to continue in office where you inherited an economy growing at 6+% and you've dropped it to 0 or minus? Where is your courage coming from to seek another 5 years? What would you wish to do in office? You have done enough damage. Take a rest. We'll look after you. Take a rest. So, we are not seeking to remove officials, Pamela, my dear sister, Wenkashand. Decentralization policy is very important, extremely important to us. We want local decisions to be made by local people. For example, in Western Province, resources must be allocated to support the priorities of Western Province. Amongst those is the fishing industry, is the rice industry. Amongst those is the Simbangala business. Masilozi, Simbangala, in English is cashew nut. It's our priority. Canals, very important. For livestock, for transportation, for so many things. Yes, Pamela, that will be the hallmark of what we wish to do in office. Let me pick Wapula. Our colleagues in Wapula have water bodies. We have water bodies through Wapula. They know the fishing industry. We will support their decision to improve fish farming. In fact, to start fish farming, because there's nothing there. And this government will give them support, will give them technical know-how, will give them the capital to grow that industry so they can feed us with fish, because they know it better. Yes, that's my answer to your question. But we will not sing decentralization. You will see it in practice. That's the difference. Kwacha will appreciate. I don't know why this question, Pamela, comes every day. I was watching a presidential candidate someday who was saying HH is lying. When he's sworn in at 10 o'clock, the Kwasha can't appreciate afternoon. That's my answer to that is just, I appreciate such a comment because it simply exhibits that somebody doesn't know the financial market. When you know the economic financial market, the markets react to the leadership that comes in based on the quality of that leadership and the confidence associated with it to manage the debt, not to fail to pay interest. And you think that your currency can really appreciate. It doesn't work like that. When you come in and you know what to do with the debt and what you do with cost control, public procurement in accordance with true costs, and you shove out the excess cost and save that money and reinvest it in the economy, the market and the investors react. As we stand here, the investors are waiting for tomorrow and Monday. And once the swearing in happens, some of them have already made preemptive board decisions to invest more in this country, including businesses that are already here. Yes, the Kwasha will appreciate. That argument is driven by ignorance. And we can forgive that. And that's what we want to change in this country. Raise the bar. And that will benefit the people of Zambia. ECZ wants to announce unverified results. We disagree. I use that example. In fact, the question must have referred to the point I made that you cannot announce unauthenticated results. How? From where? The results only become authentic if the vote took place properly, fairly, freely. No one walks, no thug walks in the name of a ruling party, walks in the polling stations and beats polling officials and policemen. It happened in 2016. And then the result certificate was not there. How did they know who got how many votes? Because the law and the regulations require that the results can only be authentic if the vote was conducted freely, no violence, and each vote was counted and recorded and signed for. So if you sign for you announce for unverified results, what are you doing? You are cheating yourself. That's what constitutes what I call the election being decided by those who count the votes. No. We say no to that. And the ECZ should not go that way. Tomorrow, Electoral Commission, do not go that way. Remember, we said we want peaceful elections for stability, for economic development, for social development. Do not go in that direction tomorrow. Then you'll be instigating problems in the country. Yourselves. Then you want to blame somebody else. Take leadership. Remember, earlier I talked about the need for leadership at all levels to make sure we have peaceful elections. This would be lack of leadership by the Commission. Don't do it. You love this country. You want peace. You want stability. You want the country to move forward and address the economic and social issues. Do not create trouble. I don't think they'll do it. They shouldn't do it. Anyway. Announcing results that I'll be warned. Why should I be warned? Why should be the owners of results be warned? ECZ doesn't own those results. The results are owned by us, the citizens, 18 million Zambians. Even those who don't vote, the 2-year-old, 2-month kid, two-month-old kid owns those results through the parents who are voting age. Because the decisions they make will affect that 2-month-old child. How can the Electoral Commission warn people? That's why earlier I said phones must be allowed inside there, especially Android phones that can take pictures of the results so that we can do parallel vote tabulation. That will even help the ECZ to avoid arguments. Unless ECZ plan to help a political party, which is not acceptable. So I really think that that's a minimum responsibility of the Electoral Commission. They don't have to warn anybody. But why warn HS? I'm just one out of 7 million voters. My vote is only one. So why warn a particular guy who has only one vote? Why would you fear one individual so much? The behavior of this government and this institution, it is paranoid about one individual. I know what they fear. They know that once we take office, we'll run this country in a way that after 5 years, the distinction will be obvious, but better. So they want to conceal the current failings by keeping in office. Luckily, Zambians made a decision. It won't happen. That's the good news. It won't happen. Thank you.
I will take the last three.
Vote protection measures. I will not say more. I ask citizens to protect their votes, and that we are also doing something to protect our votes. And I say more. What is that more? Just those two statements. Those two statements. Anything else will be arming those who steal votes. But it's only tomorrow. We shall see.
Three last sets of questions.
By the way, just let me abuse you. I want to appeal to the international observers. Please, the election is a process. This business of saying we want to make sure that the country remains stable by allowing wrong results to be announced, and you issue reports in favor of wrong results, as it happened in Malawi, as it happened in Kenya, is an indictment on all of us. Because we're one people globally. Let's do the right thing. By wanting shortcuts, even when there's a problem, you are actually instigating instability. I'm addressing this to international observers. We love you. You're part of our family. But what you did in Malawi was really not the way to do things. Let's talk about a peaceful, free, fair election in its entirety. To say let's aid those in office so that you can have stability, you're actually aiding instability. Because people are hungry. Hungry people are angry people. Simple. Thank you.
Last three questions?
Two. I thought I was taking a rest very soon.
Can I take the last two questions? Darius? Who else?
Mr. President, how are you? This is our former president here.
I can ask two questions.
So you can start.
Just one question, please.
I'm debating on which one to pick because I have two questions. So,
Pick one.
Yeah, but that's the rule you set, isn't it?
Yes. Pick one.
It's not my rule, it's yours.
that's very difficult. But anyway, I will ask.
We can deal with the other question. You and I are friends. We can deal with the other question later.
My name is Darius Jonah from
Yeah.
TV.
Yeah.
Today is the eve of a highly contested election with 16 presidential candidates. And the biggest rival in this election is the incumbent president, Edgar Lungu. With that said, we'd like to get your message to the incumbent president ahead of an election tomorrow. Thank you.
Master of ceremony, sir, you are the boss, you are in charge. We are all directed by you. He's finished the question. I took the question, don't worry.
Oh, okay. It was the last question.
Okay, very good. Very nice. Right, Darius, my message to my colleague ECL, I've already delivered it. It's under the section I talked about leadership, the call for leadership, the need for leadership to basically be availed now. True leadership. I'm not talking about Mickey Mouse leadership here. I'm talking about serious leadership. The country is at crossroads, my brother, and that tomorrow's elections must be devoid of any wrong instructions that can create trouble constraining voters. Let's encourage voters to vote, to turn out freely. Let's allow the count to take place freely. Let's allow the process to be open, end to end. Others will say beginning to end. Let us allow a smooth change of government. there will be a change of government. I'm addressing my colleague. Let's allow a smooth change of government. We don't have to destroy the country in order to remain in office, or to do other things. The day you move in office, my brother, you must know the next move is to go out. I'm aware of that myself. So there shouldn't be hesitation, there shouldn't be anger. I see a lot of anger in him in the last 1 week. There shouldn't be anger. It is a natural thing to happen. There is a former president there. He's living an ordinary life. Of course, not as ordinary as mine, because he's guarded. I'm not guarded. He should be guarded. We go in, do our work, we leave happily, peacefully, and use the presidential powers to discharge legal instructions, not illegal instructions. And I'm also saying to him, I'm available to talk. I've always been available to talk. That is. We've talked before. Let's talk again. It's not too late. Better late than never. We keep our country stable. Threatening each other with arrests is actually a wrong thing to do. It constitutes intimidation. Luckily, I don't take intimidation, luckily. But that could translate to voters being intimidated, that now our leader is going to be arrested. So what are we voting for? Voters, turn out. That's the reason you must turn out. That's the reason we must have a change of government. So we can bring the rule of law, we can bring normalcy in our country, we can bring development, we can bring equity, we can remove segregation, reunite our people. That's the more reason voters must be determined to turn out in big numbers tomorrow, so they can have a new dawn. I'm available to talk. I'm repeating. We are available. My team is available to talk. They want to talk to me? No problem. Choose any one of my team members for the greater good of this country. I also want to send a message to him that I'm not his enemy. He projects me as his enemy. I've never been his enemy. The enemy is poverty and hunger and unemployment. That's the enemy. That's the one we want to deal with. So he remains president, Darius, out of office. There is a president out of office. That's a good thing to take into account. He won't lose nothing. He's our brother. We're not his enemies. We compete to serve. That's all. I think I've said enough.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We have come to the end of our briefing. What is important also is to reemphasize what the President has said. It is important for everyone to go out and vote, to go out in numbers and vote. You have a choice tomorrow to vote for someone who will come and fix the economy, or vote for someone who will come and fix HH. But HH is not your problem. The economy is. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Director of Ceremonies. Great, you are the boss. You tell us what to do next. Your job hasn't ended. Can I be naughty to you? Someone sent me a note, and I'm being deliberate, about foreign voters, ghost voters. I think I've covered that in the need for free and fair election. Bona fide voters. I can only appeal to my colleagues from neighboring countries that it's our duty to allow citizens in each country to decide who leads that country. Because if you encourage your citizens to vote in other countries, neighboring countries, you are encouraging Zambians to do the same when your election comes. I don't think you will like that. So let's keep our region stable. We have a problem in Mozambique. We should all work towards making sure that that problem does not continue in Mozambique. 1, 2, it does not grow into other countries. This region is not used to what's going on in Mozambique. But part of it is the poverty in there. And that's why we need a leadership that can work the economy and provide opportunities for our people. But we feel for our colleagues in Mozambique, the insurgents there are not what we need in a region like us. What we need is development. But it starts from small things like this. Trooping people from one country in Mozambique to come and vote in Zambia. And that was done by the ruling party here, encouraging people in Mozambique to register as voters and trooping them in. They did that in Mozambique, Malawi. These are mainly the problem areas. So I think it's a matter of conscience, a matter of, again, exercising leadership, true leadership. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Please, as the President takes leave, you can remain behind. We have a few snacks here. But also, there was a request from a particular journalist who try and check if the President will have some time for those exclusives he wanted. Then maybe we'll squeeze in. The President has a list of engagements. We just try and see if we can abuse him a little bit to steal some of his time. But let's give him a chance to take leave, and then we can begin to do this.
That's what we were talking about.
I'll come just now. Because I need to sign up for the meeting with one of the former presidents.
Okay.
Just to agree the time.
Okay.
Just, that's
because we're doing this on the African news tonight. I really want something a bit special for us.
no problem. I'll be with you. I'll be with you. Sure. Thank you.
Asking if you can mingle with people in party Uganda.
Yeah, you organize. Just organize the people as she wants. Please, eh?